There we are. We are live for another week, and welcome to Bill and Ammon's Bogus Hangout. Bill, kick us off. What have you been up to this week?
I've been up to mostly no good. I've been waiting for football to start. It's not quite the same thing as hockey in Canada, but I enjoy it.
Yeah, you're doing it wrong. You don't just sit there and wait for the football to start. You got to kick it.
It's a good point.
Oh,
yes. Dave, good to have you joining us. I understand you're going to be talking about local SEO tonight.
I shall be, and now I'm done. Get on with the next hour and 55 minutes.
We've got time to talk about LSI. Okay.
Well, no, that's yours now. I told you months ago, dude. When they started tagging you with that, that's your baby now, man. I'm out. And then after Bill's done with that, he's going to tell us Google's 200 ranking factors.
What's your cloud store, Dave?
Yeah. Anyways, hi. How's it going, everyone? Dave, SEO Dojo, and just busy, man. It's just, again, and this side of the pond, I guess it's September, and most of our U.S. clients are ramping up for Black Monday and Christmas. So busy.
Yeah. I must admit, I tend to think, if your Christmas plan isn't solid and you're doing the polishing up on it now, you're probably a little bit slow. I still like to have a 3-month lead in for anything.
Oh, I'm with you. I'd like to be doing that in April. Not September, but yeah.
Well, honestly, I often keep the holiday specials alive all year round because people aren't searching for Christmas stuff the rest of the year. Demand will make them find the right page, but you keep up your Christmas section, even if you're talking about how successful last year's was, until you've got the content for this year's, and that way the links are still there. It's still solid. It's still got all its content. It's got its internal and external links all sorted. Let the user demand to decide whether it turns up or not.
My neighbor put up Halloween decorations yesterday. It's only 2 months old.
That is nothing. Tanya would have Halloween decorations up all year long if I let her. Yeah, Bill's like, oh my gosh, my neighbor put up Halloween stuff in September. No, she'd have it going all year.
That's it. There's like no question.
When she puts them up in October, she wants to keep them to Christmas.
Yeah.
Has she already planned your costumes for this year?
From a purely shopping standpoint, we always do at least half of our Christmas shopping in January, February. Stuff's on special. It ends up sitting in a closet for most of the year. And sometimes gets forgotten and sits there for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. And what he's not telling you is the other half of the Christmas shopping is just re-gifting the stuff they didn't like last Christmas they were given, just making sure somebody else gets it.
Yeah, we passed a fruitcake around for about 11 years. I think everybody got it at least twice.
Well, you mean pass it around, you mean like a rugby ball at this point, right?
Yeah.
That's what Bill was thinking was a football waiting to start. He didn't dare kick it.
Yeah.
Terry, how are you doing?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Well, I could be doing better. Had a site blow up on me today, so I put her in maintenance mode, putting it back together.
Right.
That's what happens when you don't update for 5 years.
Then he called 911, also known as 932-9139.
So I'll get to see how quickly I can build a WordPress site from scratch.
Well, if it ever, really, really blows up and there's a fire, you just call Alan Blywise to get his picture taken in front of it.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. And Tim,
the client's not freaking out, so that's good news.
Greetings, all. This last week, pretty much normal. Business is good. Always looking for more. Took a little bit of extra time off over the weekend and went to a Padres game because my wife likes going. Otherwise, it's kind of like taking a beating in slow motion and watching the Padres. I did migrate my website to a new theme. So that was
exciting. God, you actually work on your own website. I don't.
I did.
That's a rare thing. We do that every 10 years or so. Because
children do have shoes now. So
yeah.
Anyway, so normal, helping people make money.
Yeah. I must admit, I was ranting against WordPress again earlier today. There's so many people using WordPress. Like, look, if you're doing less than 3 posts a week, do them in HTML. You don't need a CMS for a site that isn't updating daily, and that hasn't got.
No, you need all the fancy plugins and stuff, man. That's what SEO is now.
Well, you see these people sweating buckets to try and take off 10 milliseconds on their images, but they're losing 80 milliseconds on the fact it's a WordPress site in the first place instead of plain static HTML. And sometimes you've got to look at how the site is being used, not what's popular, not what's easy. How is the site being used, and then build the right site for the purpose. It's kind of like when you select a car, you may really like that low to the ground street racer, but if you're going to be trying to take this across fields, that's a really bad idea.
Or not even just when you're old.
But not even straight HTML. Like, I remember the days when we were using PHP includes for the headers and footers and other navs, and we were building it that way. Like, I remember building things by hand and manually using. HTML was and then when PHP came along, we were like, "Woo, this is exciting," because you could actually just pull in certain files. But I remember those days, man. And they probably, I haven't done one in forever, but I'll bet you they load lightning fast for sure.
Yeah, they certainly do. But even with includes, you're starting to slow the site down just a little bit because the processor's having to get involved on the server. Your hosting is a tiny bit more expensive for anything that is processor intensive, where it's having to pull the page together out of a database.
If you want a one-page, free, easy to create, fast-loading website, take a look at using the Google My Business free website tool. You can't do a lot with it from an SEO standpoint. You can do a little bit. There's a lot of things it can't do, but I'm still trying to find a case for using that for a paying client. I actually built one for a friend, and it's working fine for her. So
I just see. I mean, you know, a friend of the channel, Dave Kutcher. He works with companies that have got blogger sites, and how you can pull in external CSS, external JavaScript, and really turn a blogger site into something special. And it's at Google speeds. It's automatically indexed because it's hosted by Google. There's a lot of advantages to something like that. And you kind of
I got to go back to speed being more of a UX thing, because I've done plenty of testing across half-decent query spaces, and it's not really any kind of factor. Like, as long as you're within a reasonable threshold, it's nothing to do. Like, I think you were talking about that before the show, or just when we started, that people lose their crap and somehow think this is some massive, ranking factor. No.
It can be a significant one at times, because often, you're in the same company, you're in the same country and in the same state where your site is hosted, and you're looking at it and going, yeah, it seems fast enough. And then you've got to wonder, well, hang on, I'm doing an international site. It's supposed to be served over mobile connections. How fast does this site load when I'm off hiking? Because that's a good time to check it. You still wait for it. I like sites to be lightning fast so that when somebody calls it up on mobile, it still loads in under 3 seconds.
Under 3 is a really good goal, absolutely. But I do that all the time with WordPress.
Yeah. Usually I manage to, because I'm doing static sites, it's very rare that it's over 0.5 milliseconds.
Yeah, that's great if you can, yeah.
I can... To date, knock on wood, I have yet to find a WordPress site I couldn't get to load consistently in 2 seconds or less. But it's not out of the box. Grant, you got to play with stuff, but you can.
If I can build it, I can get it to do that. Absolutely. Yeah. If I'm maintaining a site that somebody else built,
that's a different story. Yeah.
I just do think there's an awful lot of people using WordPress because it's easy, and using WordPress because it's the default, rather than using WordPress because it's the right tool for the job. And I often think, look, whenever you spot yourself using something without thinking about it, it's time to think about it, and especially things like Google Analytics. Is that the right solution for you? Sometimes you've got to go back to the drawing board and say, what do I need to know? And what's the best tool for delivering that information to the people that need it, and in what format? Sometimes that may still be Google Analytics. Sometimes it won't be.
I chuckled a moment ago, not because I was laughing at you, Ammon, but I was thinking it'd be fun to see you and Matt Mullenweg debate over this, and have Matt bring in all of the stuff about Gutenberg and how that's going to make it easy.
Oh,
again.
God. Oh, Lordy.
Save us all.
If anything could drive me to WP Engine, Tim, it'll be Gutenberg.
Why would you say that?
Because I've never been a big fan of WP Engine, and I'm definitely not a fan of Gutenberg.
Well,
No.
but you can use, I mean, you don't need WP Engine to avoid.
Oh, no, I was just being semi-facetious.
Oh, okay.
Because you know I've never been a...
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't love them. I just, you know, they're like dial tone. They're always there. They always work. They're always fast. You know, I like dial tone. I'll pay for it. So,
Yeah. I'm just always reminded of things like that. It's kind of like the junk food thing, isn't it? Yeah, it's always easy. It's always quick. It's always there.
Yep.
Doesn't mean it's any good for you.
Doesn't mean it's nutritious. Yeah.
My job is to get new business for clients. That's the way I look at it. And to be honest, more and more, I'm spending at least as much time on their Google My Business profile than I am, as much as I am on their website, unless they're like an e-com site or something. But yeah, I mean, the handwriting's on that wall, I think. So as much as I like the tech side, I'm not going to.
As you probably know, I'm kind of at the opposite end of the spectrum. Most of the clients that come to me, they're either small businesses looking for something very bespoke, or more often than not, they are quite large companies that have been around a while. They've been with lots of agencies. They have custom built sites that are their own. They've got their in-house developers. They've got their in-house content team, and just sticking on a plug-in from somewhere else isn't necessarily going to be a good idea for them at all.
And they come to you and say, "Oh, I wasted all my money on other SEO firms, so can I have a discount from you?"
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah, take a cold tater and wait there, buddy.
Oh man.
No, I'm lucky, Tim. I've got the expectation up. You pay to talk to me in the first place. You pay for me to give you the sales pitch. I'm a consultant.
No free consultation.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. So.
I guess I'm still enough of a huckster that I'll talk to them for a little while for free. I won't do stuff for them. Actually, you know what? I will talk about what I see they could do, and if they go off and do it on their own, then fine. But more often than not, they come back and say, "Oh, I don't know how to do that. Can you do that?"
Yeah, but this is it. If they drop by any of the forums, hangouts, anything like that, I'll happily talk to them in general terms about those issues all day long. But the minute they want to get specific, or the minute they want to not talk about what they're doing in detail that their competitors can see, that's when it gets paid.
That's way too deep to be free. Then, yeah.
Have you been on the beans again, Doc?
No. That's the trash truck. Today's trash day.
Yeah, I've heard that excuse before. Dave, I mean, I'm assuming that a lot of those forensics jobs are bigger companies and ones that have invested some time and effort.
No, it can be 50-50. It's just the smaller ones, you know what I mean? You almost don't have as much sympathy per se, because at some point they did something to screw themselves and now they're just coming to you to clean it up. And like I got a meeting after this, from that stupid pick his brain thing, and some guy's like, "Oh, I screwed up my site." Those ones, forensic ones with the larger ones, it's often developers. It's often lack of communication or something went wrong, a gear in the works and things like that. But when the smaller ones are people that tried something, oops. So you don't actually feel bad for them. It's like, well,
that's what gets me though. That's what gets me though, Dave, is when they're coming to you, it's not that they tried something and it went wrong. It's that they tried everything and they don't know which one went wrong.
Yeah,
and when you've got more risks, so that when it does go wrong, you don't even know which part and how badly. That's when you've done something really stupid.
And that's the stuff that even goes to the big ones. To this day, one of the things that every one of them seems to learn coming out the other side is that you need to have records. If it's annotations and analytics, if it's keeping your developers keeping change logs, if it's having your SEO team keep change logs, it's a lack of record keeping. You know what I mean? Of all types, shapes, and sizes. So that, you know, if you ever need someone to come in and start figuring out why we're losing traffic, there's nothing to work with. You know what I mean? It's like a patient not being able to tell you where it hurts or something, you know, and that's often the case, even with the larger ones, that it's the dev teams not keeping records of what they did. Because, you know, when you dig in, you might see, okay, well, last fall, you actually started to decline a little here and then another bump there. So what happened last, you know, I'll say in this 2-week period last October, what did you guys do? You did something. We don't know. You know, they go back and ask the team and people go, I think we did this. I think we did that. But it's usually that lack of record keeping. And it's funny that that's one of the things with my full-time clients that we're very religious on. You know what I mean? Like same with Search Console. This is something I was talking about with Grant Simmons, who, thank God, was smart enough with his big, you know, company to do this. Is a lot of stuff in web Search Console is 90 days. So unless you're religiously downloading those spreadsheets every month, and you have a problem 6 months from now, you can't go back and find that information. Never mind the developer change logs. Never mind everything else you've been doing, or link building, or SEO, or whoever. You know, it's actually all that stuff. And part of my monthly programs is downloading those spreadsheets out of Search Console and all that for my clients. And and I've been with one client for 1.5 years now. If I need to go back and reference something a year ago, I can do that because we have all those records. And forensics, yeah, that is the problem half the time, is there is just no paper trail. You know what I mean? And there's only so much you can, you know, start trying to figure out. Yeah. So that's often the biggest part of the problem, to be honest. And once again, once you've worked with these people and taught them this, they're religious about it going forward. So,
yeah, I think there's a lot of agencies that miss the fact that working with a client, that's one of the services they can be providing, is talking to all of the different agencies and documenting what's going on, so that you have that going forward, a list of, right. Well, in July last year,
I was auditing one client's. I audited one of my client's social teams this past month, and they've been doing some paid campaigns on, you know, this targeting, that targeting, this targeting, and trying different things, throwing it at the wall to see what would stick. And then she turns around and says, "But I don't think they really kept track of what they were doing." So we don't, you know, if something worked or didn't work, I have no idea. I'm trying to audit the social strategy, and they, you know, they're spending the client's money. These are paid targeting programs on Facebook and stuff. Like, they're spending the client's money on this crap, and weren't really keeping, you know, sufficient documentation on it all. So it's like,
yeah, that's never excusable. You know, every client, every agent that is doing work on a website should be able to account for where they've spent their time and effort this time, and what the results of that were. Because otherwise, how the hell do you optimize it? You know, if you're not measuring it, you can't manage it. Yeah. Now, I know a lot of the time these agencies don't talk to each other, but even then, you've got to get the client used to the fact of challenging every person who is working on that site, whatever campaign they're working on, and creating a list of what they've done in this period, so that you can build up that list of what's been done, because you can just then look at the invoice notes to see, okay, right, July.
Well, I think also you got to educate the heads to understand that we all need to talk to each other. You know, Tim, you and I were talking about that social media calendar and editorial calendars weeks ago. And so I was implementing an editorial calendar for the content strategy. And so I also, while I was at it, created one for the social team. She's like, no, I think they have one of these. Did you want me to share that with you? I was like, yeah, well, that,
surprise.
Wait a minute. So they have one.
For God's sake, don't share it. No.
Yeah, I was like, that would be really handy if you could share that with me. That would be really good. Thank you.
Well, what's fun is when they have 2 or 3 different ones, and they're all playing, you know, different music. As we're talking about this, you know, most of the companies I work with either have very small websites or small companies, or they're maybe bigger, but I manage the website, so it's not a big problem. But like I've got one or two where, you know, we really need to have a what you know, I guess call a come to Jesus meeting. Oh, I don't like that term, but and say, okay, there's one person in charge. Now that person can decide how much to delegate, how much to want to control, but you know, one person needs to take responsibility because, especially in large
large
organizations.
corporates are the worst. Those are the worst too. Whenever I've had to consult to those, I hate it because the whole thing becomes this budgetary issue, right?
They're all
Because,
chiefs, no Indians.
Well, no, but you also get this budgetary issues where it's almost like they're all competing against each other underneath the MD, the marketing director, right? Yep. And so you've got the PR department, social, SEO, whatever. And it's almost like everyone's competing for budget, so they don't even have each other's best interest at heart, which ends up being not the best interest of the corporation that you're working for. And it's like, let's get everybody on the same page here, and we'll all do well, and we'll all get our budget increases next year. Like don't sweat it.
Anytime you have 3 or more people in an organization, politics begin to develop.
Yeah. And it really does become difficult because one of the biggest problems for companies, and has been for the last 8 to 9 years, that CEOs are pressing forward is integrated marketing, because all these different agencies, every single one of them wants the credit. You know, your PR people want to get the credit. The SEO people want to get the credit. The pay-per-click people want to get the credit. The marketing and sales teams want to get the credit. And the trouble is, when something is hitting multiple targets along the line, they start being enemies of each other because they see each other as threatening to take that credit.
Well, that's right. Because, you know, I mean, when that budgetary thing comes around in the annual review, somebody's job in your team could get chopped. And that's where that all seems to always come from, as opposed to what's best for the company is best for all of us, you know.
Exactly. And I've always said that the first thing you've got to change in a company today, if you want to be able to do integrated marketing, is change that thing of one person getting the credit. Take that away entirely.
Right. Adapt the culture. Change that culture within the marketing department.
For how much they've supported another team in getting the credit. Literally, one of the KPIs is, what have you done to help marketing this year? What have you done to help PR this year? And if they can't tell you what they've done to help the other departments, and the other departments say, yeah, it did, you don't get your bonus. You don't get it for what you achieve. You get it for what you've helped the other departments achieve.
That's a nice
so the
approach.
only one who doesn't get rewarded for what PR does is the PR department. But everyone else who was able to help them gets rewarded for that.
It sounds good in theory. It really does.
Yeah, but then you got that whole human nature thing that gets in the way. So.
Yeah. It's kind of like communism.
Chance for politics.
On paper, communism is a wonderful ideal too, but it's not fuck when you inject the humans into it.
You run out of somebody else's.
Yeah, we're not going communism here. We're not saying, oh look, if any of you succeed, you all succeed. No. They've got to actually demonstrate what they did to help the PR campaign, and there'd better be numbers involved of some sort.
It's great if you can make that work, no doubt about it. And you know, frankly, most of my clients aren't nearly at that size anyway. So
it's much more the blue chips, the multinationals,
or large nonprofits. Yeah. That's where I see it mostly in my little world, is the larger nonprofits. And I love my clients, don't get me wrong, but it can be really messy. People are involved. People are messy. That's what my wife, the social worker, tells me.
Yeah,
I have seen something similar to that, Ammon, work on a factory production floor.
Mm.
It's a fantastic culture, but it's not easy to create. But when you get the guy that's in charge of getting raw material to the production line, when he starts realizing that being helpful to the production line paid off, because now the guys in purchasing did things that helped him be more productive, that's when it suddenly dawns, okay? You've always got some individuals that are just resistant to it, but it's like watching a light come on in their eyes when they realize, oh, okay, yeah, I did increase my throughput time a little, by 5 or 10 seconds a piece, but these guys saved me 30 seconds a pallet on what they suggested. Then the light comes on. But I've seen that happen once, and it was fantastic. But I've seen it fail a half a dozen times too.
Yeah, but this is it. You've got to set that bar. Look, team sports are difficult. You get players who want to shine, and it takes time to build a team where that player who wants to shine learns that he shines best when he's got the backs of the team and the team's got his back. When they are feeding him the stuff to shine, and he's delivering for them and making sure that they get credit for having fed him that ball. That's the culture you have to go. Now, you do it in every single team if you expect that team to get anywhere. Company teams are no different. You've got to encourage a team culture right from the start. You need a team coach.
Well, and theoretically, that's what the marketing director is supposed to do.
Yeah.
There we go.
We're in trouble.
Well, you need somebody to be leader. That's what you're saying.
You've got three things that go wrong with that. You've got some companies where sales and marketing are two different departments, and you've instantly got conflict there. You've got ones where you've got the CEO who's a little bit gung-ho and likes to get involved and have his own little project sometimes. And I bet you come across this sometimes, Tim, that even when you've got all the rest of it, he'll sometimes just on a whim sporadically go, oh, I'm buying this campaign and buy in something. And I think anyone who's dealt with small clients has suddenly had a client turn up, oh, yeah, I've got this guy to do an ad campaign for me. Some guy you've never heard of.
Even larger clients when the C-level guy is getting involved. Yeah. Oh, that's the best. It's coming down from the C-level, boys. We got to do this. What? This is stupid. Why would we? Don't worry. We got to.
Well, you know what happens too sometimes.
What was it, Terry? What was it, Terry? Ford Focus or something? Remember Auto Trader? Somebody on the C-level decided they wanted to rank for used Ford Focus. Meanwhile, who was ranking for that? Ford. It was like, we want this ranking. But me and Terry like, what? Yeah, remember it wasn't even a subdomain, wasn't it? Ford had usedford.com or something like that, and it was owned by friggin' Ford. And yeah, good luck.
Yeah, no, they wanted to come up for new Ford Taurus, and it was a used car thing, basically.
Yeah, no, I think it's still used because it's Auto Trader doesn't really sell new cars. But yeah. Anyways, but somebody at the C-level of Auto Trader decided to come to me and Terry and say, okay, we were just consulting. We weren't managing the campaign, but they still came to us and said, okay, give us a strategy to get this. And we're like, okay, you want us to bump Ford out of #1 for their own vehicles. Oh, yeah, that's totally fucking bad. Like, we'll get right on that, buddy.
Well, yeah. Plain English tells you anything below sea level is sunk.
Yeah. But yeah, I've heard so many of those kind of things from the sea level that come down through the chain, and it's just like, oh, God. We even did this thing with Volkswagen at one point because someone that we knew that pulled us into Volkswagen. And, the whole deal was they were rethinking their approach and they wanted to be known for safety. And so, as consultants, me and Terry are like, isn't that Audi? But yes, Volkswagen wants Volvo. That's what it was. Sorry. Yeah, it was Volvo. And we're like, really? You're going to 180 right now? And what? Anyways, they ended up trashing that idea after a couple of months of talking.
And then they went for corporate integrity.
So, it's always fun when the C-level gets something in their bonnet that they think's a great idea.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Volvo could have easily done that because the double hull thing. Put it this way: if you're going to have a crash, there is nothing better to have it in than a Volvo.
No. This was Volkswagen wanting to go for safety, meaning take out Volvo's position. After all these years, right? It was Volkswagen that we were working with. And it was like, no, that's not good. Let's think of a different marketing plan here, boys, because I
have seen a steel Land Rover go into the back of an ordinary Audi estate.
It's a meeting.
The Land Rover was wrecked. And
it's a meeting.
Cut off with scratches.
However, I will tell you that I stopped buying Volvos after about 15 years because the catalytics in them are no good. And so after about 15,000 miles, you get to buy, well, maybe 20,000. You get to buy $3,000 or $4,000 worth of new catalytic converters. This is no bueno.
Problem myself with them.
I guess, Ammon, isn't that maybe the true mark of a consultant is to talk an owner or a C-level person out of a bad move? You know what I mean? Like,
if you can.
Like they, obviously it wasn't just me and Terry. I'm pretty sure every consultant and every person in their company was yelling at these C-level guys going, no. And so they rethought it. But yeah, I think even with medium size, whatever size clients I have, I think that is always a good quality. Is you can talk them down off the ledge sometimes from making that bad decision. I think that's definitely a hallmark of a good consultant, no matter what size company you're working with. You know?
Yeah. The next best is for them to have heard you speak against it and have signed a thing saying that you spoke against it and then gone ahead and done it themselves. Because now you've got all the work of fixing it to look forward to.
And you're going to charge a little premium on that.
You said not to do this in the first place.
But yeah, just for anybody watching now or forever, Ammon's got a great concept there because I've said this, and so has he. We all have sign, get it in writing, get someone to sign it, print out that PDF, get it signed, sent back to you. Don't just tell them in an email that you're against it because they could say I didn't get that email. So
something that I tell other SEOs all the time is, look, you're not there to have your advice followed. That's not your job. Your job when you're consulting with a company is to give them your best advice. And if they choose to ignore it, that's their right. They've bought your advice to use or not use as they wish. As long as you've given your best shot, you've explained it clearly, and they've made an educated decision, you've done your job. Don't get too attached if they still go and make a bad decision. People do that.
No, and like you said, you get to clean it up later and charge a little premium on that one. Yeah, like I always call it a plumbing emergency. You know, when the plumber comes because your basement's flooding, he always charge a little extra because he knows you're screwed.
90% of the clients that I've fired are clients that wouldn't follow recommendations.
Yeah.
And that's simply because, as Bill likes to say, you can't fix stupid. And so I just
you can, Terry, over and over again. You can fix stupid twice a year and charge them a fortune for it, and next year they'll do the same stupid again and you can charge them again. You can fix stupid endlessly. It just doesn't stay fixed.
Right, okay. Either way, it's a futile...
well, that's it. No, I've rethought this. From now on, I'm taking on dumbass clients because apparently there's a lot more money in this. Now that I think about Ammon's little plan here, I'm starting to go, there's a market for this.
Yeah.
That's the truth. I think we all aren't really that hard-hearted. We really do want our clients to succeed.
Yes.
Not just because it's good for us, but we want them to. And so, frankly, I think the truth is, even though we're talking a tough game here, we hate it when our clients go against our advice and then they screw up. Yeah, sure, we can make money fixing it, but we're not bad guys.
Well, I think to a degree, like anybody in marketing or at least SEO or whatever, I'm very competitive by nature. I like to win. If it's that query space or whatever, you know what I mean? I think that's part of what drives me. So, yeah, I hate to lose. And if the client's in my way of winning, move over.
Well, I have told more than one client, I don't understand why you're paying me. If you're repeatedly going to go the other direction from what I'm advising, then I just feel like I'm taking your money for nothing. And the guy wanted to keep paying me. He even admitted that, I haven't taken most of your advice. I understand, but I still want you to stay on board. I've ended up firing him. I'm sorry.
I had exactly that with a major financial client. The guy that hired me was the head of internet marketing. But he was subservient to C-level head of marketing. And head of marketing was one of those people who likes the big images with 2 words of text on. And their entire approach to the web was based on that. They wanted big pictures everywhere and almost no text. The guy who hired me wanted my advice to back up what he believed and to teach his people best practices. He couldn't get it through, but he didn't care. His team were prepared for the best work. And he had documentation explaining what would have been the best tactic. And that's what he was happy to pay for. And yeah, I felt the same way. I felt it's 50 grand that they spent on advice. And this was real money, not that American stuff. 50 grand. And they were very, very happy because the team were all much more confident of what they were doing. They understood what to do and why. And the fact that the marketing director didn't let them didn't change the fact that they were better off for it.
But the financial institution wasn't.
Oh, they had more than enough to... They blew more than that, suing a guy for creating a website about complaints about them.
Oh, I'm not talking about your 50 grand fee. I'm talking about what they could have done for the business had they been doing things right. You know.
Yeah.
Opportunity cost. Yep.
Oh God, yeah. And at that time, they really could have got a leap on the market because the finance market was open still then.
Well, we all have egos, and it feels good to be successful, make our clients successful, and it feels good to have our advice heeded and implemented. You know, it's just clients feel the same way. They're human too, and they got their ego too. And a lot of times, as a consultant, we're seen by some of the players in-house as an interloper and in their way and in competition with them, and they feel threatened by us. And so we're getting an unreasonable level of resistance too. That's consulting. That's why when I was working as a business consultant, I was always in-house. I was always on the floor with the people.
Yeah.
And because then you could feel that. And you could get a sense for it and overcome it and start building relationships. But when you're working online, it's a whole lot different. You don't have a good feel for it. And sometimes it'll sneak up on you. You're getting bit in the back and you don't even see it coming, you know.
So I often say it's one of the good things is when you are a consultant, you're spotting that you're having to argue too hard for this. That's the time to realize you may well lose this. So actually, go a different way. You know that thing you wanted to get done 6 months ago and there was no chance. Now see if you can compromise. He can do that if you can do this side project. And sometimes you will get something through that actually does more good than the amount of harm he's done by going the wrong decision on something else anyway. So it's a good time to look for that compromise. Realize you can't win this fight. What can you get done instead?
Yeah, we can't get the Mexicans to pay for the wall, so we're going to jack up our tariffs.
And it goes political.
And I guess, Ammon, does this also come back to an age-old discussion about qualifying clients? You know what I mean? I think we did that recently with some stuff. We had that audit session, Bill, and we actually spent a lot of time talking about qualifying the situation. And I think that comes into it a lot, too. Don't put yourself in those situations where it's going to be frustrating. Don't get into them. And that's hard to do, I know, when you're self-employed. You know, some days, some weeks and months are worse than others. And we've all taken on that project just because we were a little slow that we wish we hadn't. And, you know, but I think qualifying your clients is always a huge part of that, you know.
And knowing yourself as well, really knowing yourself. Because like you say, for me, if a client doesn't go with my advice, do you know what? That's fine. They've paid for my advice. I've given them my advice. It's not my job to tell them what to do. It's my job to give them the advice on what I think they should do and why. And once they have explained that, they can make their own decision. And if they choose to jump off a ledge, they can choose to jump off a ledge.
Or just not implement or whatever. That's actually consulting 101. Like,
exactly. But there are
I worked with a certain very prominent UK money sort of supermarket place, and you know they brought me in for an audit because one of our friends was the head of SEO there, and then 2 years later he was leaving the position and brought in another friend of ours who took over that position, and he said, well, go get Dave to do an audit. And you know, sure enough, I went and did it, but without looking at the one I'd done 2 years, a year and a half earlier. Remember, Terry? And then we went back and we compared the two, and it was pretty much they hadn't implemented anything. The second audit looked pretty much like the first one. So it's like you're saying, all right, you're paying me, that's fine. I'll take the money and roll it out to you again. If you implement it or not, well, you know.
It's one thing when the client just says that, no, I can't do that right now. It's another when they choose to exacerbate the problem. And that's when I say, okay. Because you know what? In the end, they're going to blame you. They're not going to blame themselves. They're going to start bad-mouthing you.
Oh, yeah, dude. That was me and Blaywise came up with that 10% implementation, 100% of the blame. That's the consultant's credo.
But this is why, you know, Dave and I are saying, cover it, get it in writing. Make sure you have got the paper trail that shows you giving them the right advice and them choosing to go another way with your blessing, but with your caution. And you know what? They can't blame you because there's the whole paper trail.
Well, the other
and that's
thing
really
is,
that's what people don't really think to do, you know, because again, they say, well, I sent them an email. Well, that guy can turn around and say, I didn't get that email. You know what I mean? If you don't get him to take that, put it into a PDF, make him print it out, make him sign it, scan it, send it back to you. Hey, do whatever the hell you want with my advice.
Oh, no.
Like,
you get them to send you the email that says it.
Yeah, exactly.
well, the other
They can't
thing is,
claim they didn't get the email that they sent.
the other thing that also helps with sometimes if you see them going in the wrong direction, you've got a heads up and you can build a recovery plan ahead of the game. You know, and I've had to do that a couple times where I was really glad that I knew what they were planning on doing, and it hadn't been a surprise that they'd have been screwed.
And that's
here's
another
the
reason
thing,
not
Doc,
to climb on the ledge.
this site had a panda issue, and it was just adding more panda issues to it. I said, you know, this is just nuts. Like you think you're getting ahead, but you're just yourself farther.
Is that CA1 thing or
the first thing? What's the first rule when you realize that you're in trouble? Stop digging. You dug yourself in a hole. Quit digging.
Don't wait till it's over your head.
Yeah.
That was the furniture site, Dave.
Oh, for God's sakes, man, that was a nightmare.
Yeah, those you've got to fire because they're paying you to fix something and then they're not allowing you to fix it. And those will try to blame you. Yeah, those you fire. But the others, like I say, you know, just make sure you don't climb up on that ledge. Don't get into a position where you're making demands. No, you need to do this. And here's, you know, don't get into that position. You give them your best advice and you do it as advice. And you say, you know, here's what I advise. Here's why I advise it. Here's why I caution against what you're doing. Now you're informed, you make a decision. Because now you're in a position where if it goes wrong, you're not enemies. He's not embarrassed to come back to you. You do get paid to fix it.
Well, it certainly takes some of the stress off of your back, too.
Oh, I could have hung out and got paid to fix it. But I just gave it to a friend of a friend. Said, you know, here, go ahead.
No, see, Terry, I'd have given that one to an enemy.
No, it was a friend that got me the job. And then they went back to him and he gave it to another friend. And he came to me first and said, what happened?
Plus this is Terry you're talking about, guys. It's not like he's sitting there doing Zen stuff all day, you know. We gotta watch his blood pressure, so no, he's best just getting rid of that stuff. I've worked beside Terry for 10 years now, so we know better than that.
You give something like that to the guy that pissed you off the most.
Yeah. You find that guy in the SEO community that you really don't like. You just have to talk to him and go, you're such a good pal. Here's a project for you.
That's what I told my buddy.
That's where I said. That's why I said all my projects that I don't want to Josh Bashinsky. So you know.
If you get a client who's really bad, I hear Alan loves to do audits for them.
Oh God.
And they'll love his audits. They'll love the way he speaks to them.
Well, I'd also send him to Chase because he's the #1 SEO in the world.
Is he? Oh,
burden him. So.
I think it's the universe, isn't it, Dave? Not just the world.
It's entirely possible. He may have gotten out to Uranus by now. Okay, had to be done.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I do get amused at some of these sort of reputation and best. Nobody can know how good they are until they go up against another SEO, and even then, you can't know because you don't know what the client did and didn't allow you to do, and what resources they gave.
And that's it. You know what I mean? Like lately, okay, this post-August stuff. One of my clients, this site popped up in our query space out of pretty much nowhere, and I went and looked and went, man, whoever is doing SEO over here is good, right? And I went to my client because she was like, who are these people? Where'd they come from? And I was like, well, they're doing a whole bunch of stuff that I've been telling you we should be doing for the last 6 months. They've already done it. Whoever is running this campaign has got some skills. Like, I don't know who's running it, but whoever it is, they're not, you know, they got some skills, right? And I have no problem respecting that. But like you say, you know, there was things I was suggesting, but because we're one of the leaders in our market, they were kind of like, don't worry about it. You know what I mean? We'll do that later. It kept getting put off. So like you're saying, you don't even know even if you're the SEO agency of records, you don't know what was allowed to be done or what was paid to be done or who signed off on what. You might have been giving them great advice, and because they don't sign off and it doesn't get done, you can't turn around and go, well, this guy sucks at SEO. Well, no, you don't know that situation. So
yeah.
Sure.
I mean, even with affiliates, you don't know. They have more freedom to do what they want. And believe me, you know, when you meet the guy who is ranking #1 for Viagra and you meet the guy who is ranking #1 for poker, you know, those are credentials.
And I think it also
they really hold on to them that long, but sometimes they do, and those guys know what they're doing. And
I think that also speaks to ego, though, doesn't it? Like I have, you know, like we all make jokes about me in local SEO, and I know what I'm good at, I know what I'm not. You know what I mean? And I have no problem with that. And like I was, you know, I had a sales call this morning, and I was telling them, listen, if I don't know something, and I'm going to tell you, but don't worry, because I know someone who knows how to do that because of my network and people I know, and I can make sure I can get you someone who can do that. You know what I mean? So I'm never, I tend not to let the ego get in the way. You know, joking around on forums or on Facebook or something, sure. But when it comes to actually, you know, the client's business, I always, you know, you got to know yourself, your abilities, and if you truly give a shit, like, and I can respect other people. Like I said, this site, I looked at the SEO and I was like, damn, these guys, well done. Good job, boys. You know, and you have to be able to do that. Like if you want to grow, and, you know, I'm 20 years in and I still find I learn stuff all the time. You know?
So it's a bit like last week, Terry kind of gave us an insight on how to spot a bad SEO. I think that is another one to add to the list. If your SEO tells you that they're the best, they're not.
There you go.
If they think that you could even tell who is the best SEO,
yeah, because how's that possible? Because we've not, none of us have been around long enough to work in every market, in every query space, every type of site, every budgetary constraint, every corporate constraint, every political situation. None of us. You know, again, you just try to be the best you can be as you. And that's all I just try to be better, a better Dave every day. You know what I mean? That's all I ever work at. I'm not trying to be better than you or Terry or anyone else. I'm just trying to be better than I was yesterday, and that's all I work at.
Yeah. And that is, I've said many times, you know, when people say, what's the favorite SEO campaign you've ever done? And all that, I always say tomorrow's. Because there's things I learned today that I'm going to apply tomorrow, and I'm already looking forward to it. Every single SEO campaign I've ever done has taught me something for the next one.
Exactly. I've got a client right now that I've had for a year and a half. And I've looked at some of the stuff I was doing a year and a half ago going, oh, man, dude, who was this guy? Like, really? You were what? Oh, my God. You know, so it's literally, I told my client this week because, you know, Sitebulb, Peter Hathaway and them have been talking to me privately. And so I'm giving Sitebulb a really good kick. So I told my client, hey, guess what? We're going to do an audit this week. Yep, I'm auditing myself from a year and a half ago, but we're doing an audit. And, you know, yeah, I even looked at some of the stuff I did a year and a half ago for the same client. And, you know, when I was 18 and a half years in instead of 20, and I even compared to my old self, I'm better now. I mean, I'm seeing things that Google changes too, but I'm also seeing things that I was like, yeah, you know, I probably could have been smarter on this or that. Like I'm still smarter than I was.
Your perspective changes as well. Your perspective changes as you're in different parts of the trench, or as the trench moves forwards, then the perspective changes. And what made sense 18 months ago may not make sense today.
Right, but again, irrespective of that, I also got a year and a half of talking to you and talking to Bill and talking to Doc and talking to Terry, talking to Tim. And, you know, I swear to God, you know, a couple times a week, and if it's the Dojo Skype room or one of these Hangouts, somebody will say something that makes me go, oh, you know, I should go and, you know, try that. And so on. So, yeah, I mean, I'm constantly learning, and I feel you have to. You can never just sit in your laurels and say, well, I'm great, I'm awesome, and we'll just stay there. Like, no.
Yeah, well, there's too many folks out there that are sitting on their laurels and talking a good show, unfortunately.
There's a lot who think that, you know, it's a marketing thing, so they've got to have the swagger, they've got to brag, they've got to, you know, big themselves up. And no, you don't. You really don't. Above all, you want to be a professional, and a professional doesn't need to do that. You know what you can do, but you don't know how well you can do it until the day.
I'm just a huge believer, if it's on the client or if it's myself, I'm a huge believer in the continuous improvement process. You know what I mean? Like that nothing's ever optimal. We're always going to keep trying to get better. or even myself personally, I can always be better, et cetera, et cetera. You know, I believe in that evolutionary sort of concept of the continuous improvement process, and I just apply that to clients, to myself, to everything.
Well, that too also goes to what we've said in the dojo many times, is that SEO is not a task; it's a process. It's between the evolution of Google and the development of new technologies. It's never going to be optimized. It might always get closer, but it's never going to be there, because there's always something tomorrow that can be done to make it still better.
Well, and again, remember the old phrase we've had for years, which is that future proofing. Mm-hmm. Again, so if you know the evolution of SEO and Google and whatever, you get an idea of that path that they're on, so you can, in your SEO today, prepare for things that are within reason think are going to happen down the line. And that big core August algorithm update, like every one of my ongoing campaigns improved from. I mean, so I was in a meeting today going, yep, yeah, saw that one coming. So, you always, you even got to think ahead at times. You can't
going back to our conversation before we went on air, about PBNs. There's people who've been building link networks. Well, I've done this 100 times, right? But that doesn't mean that you're going to be able to do it tomorrow, because tomorrow the tolerance level in the algorithm may change. And what you've done 100 times before, just because it worked then, doesn't mean it will work tomorrow. Have you got your contingency plan? Have you got your plan for when it doesn't work anymore? Because every single thing that the search engine detect once worked. That's why they had to build the detection algorithms for it.
Mm-hmm. They've been building thresholds that take into account what you've done in the past.
Yeah.
So that they can finally catch you in the act.
Yeah. And kicking over that threshold, I have seen people who had pushed up to, and they were doing phenomenally. And then they kicked over that threshold. Tiny little thing, but that old saying, the straw that broke the camel's back? That's what they did. And the whole camel was gone. Right. Everything they'd done in 5 years was wiped out.
When people message me, on Facebook or whatever, I always preface it with that. Is this your site or a client site? Because if it's a client site, someone's losing a job, someone's losing money, someone's going to get hurt by your actions. If it's your own site, you're doing affiliate crap, go ahead, push all the goddamn boundaries you want. But when you start dealing with clients and people that someone's losing a job somewhere, do you really... I can't sleep at night with that thought. And I agree with you that what works, we've seen that. Come on, we're all 20 years in here. So we've seen that happen, that what was working here, go back and read forum posts or articles or whatever from 10 years ago. Remember article marketing and directories and all that stuff, I'm sure everyone thought those were great. And then, Dave made a great living around 2009 to 2011 from all the link penalties. And I had a great time cleaning up all those messes.
If you want to have a real laugh, go through, search forums for the phrase, Google can't detect my links. And see how every single one of those thread ends. See what happens 6 months down the line to that site. Because, do you know what? They can. If your links are visible enough to actually count for anything, they're visible enough to unravel, and it unravels the lot.
Well, I can guarantee you,
Google.
It's no crazy talk, because I can definitely guarantee you, in my years talking with Matt Cutts, that they had people inside of a syndicate and elsewhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The guys at syndicate weren't stupid. They were like, no, don't don't post that in public, don't this and that. And everyone, oh, you're just being paranoid. I know for a fact, back in 2006, talking to Matt and stuff, and 2008 and whatever, they had people wandering around in there. They're not stupid.
Of course
when they were downloading the same programs and buying those programs and running little tests and adapting their algorithms accordingly. That's the enemy. What do you think they're going to do?
But that's the best place to find out where something in Google is broken that they haven't detected, is where people are exploiting it. Yep. Where are they going to be boasting about how they've exploited it? They're going to be there in Webmaster World. They're going to be there in Warrior forums, and that's where you can easily see, that's not working.
To be honest, when again, my story with Matt was 2004 or 2005 or so. that a local site here in my area had gotten some injections and stuff, and what have you. And then I started looking into it more, and then we found some in shopping.com and places like that. And it was literally for real rape videos. I'm not kidding you. And over that time of talking to Matt, when I first met him, he did actually explain to me that a lot of his job was around some of that really evil, disgusting shit. You know what I mean? The stuff that SEOs were worried about, keyword stuffing, this and that, wasn't the bulk of his work at the time. It was the really disgusting, nasty, evil shit. You know what I mean? And he would give me examples and stuff. And I was like, Jesus, man. And he had to do that for a living. Like, no, thank you. You know, and that's, you know, that's what, you know, that there is that element of the world, you know, before the dark web and shit like that, that was out there. And, you know what I mean? And that's what the web spam team has to look out for and deal with. And like literally, dude, there was injections into shopping.com, which was also owned epinions.com. And we, you know, Matt and I were going through shit, and we found like injections in those big ass sites for real rape fucking videos and guys promoting this stuff and linking. And it was horrendous, dude. It's fucking horrible shit, dude. And that's the kind of stuff Matt used to tell me about that he had to deal with on a daily basis as part of his job. You know, he used to joke with me in emails that like, and SEOs are worried about their little link schemes on some e-com site. He's like, no, that's not what I'm looking at every day. I'm like, yeah.
And some of the malware that's out there, you know, where an ad network has got basically hijacked. You know, the ad network checks out his ad, it all looks good. But that's because they've bothered to look up the IP the ad network is looking at. Everyone else is getting something completely different on the landing page that's injecting malware into their computer. You know, these kind of things happen, and Google has to keep aware of those and block those. Yeah,
it was many a time we'd have that conversation that, you know, he thought it was kind of funny that SEOs really, by and large, that were somewhat legit, were worried about that's what they, you know, his job was to go get them. And in truth, much of his job was really directed at the really nasty crap that was going on out there. Like you're saying, from malware to really, you know, before the dark web, disgusting stuff. And I mean, that was a large percentage of what he did every day. You know? So,
yeah.
And that's got to wear on you. Like when he left and stuff, I talked to him and everything. And, you know, like that wears on you after 10, 12 years. And especially when you've got, you know, one of the first 8 employees at Google and you've already got the shares and millions of bucks and, you know, why do I want to keep doing this? Like, really? You know, I don't blame him for walking away.
No. Jeff Dean's probably delighted because now, you know, he's the superstar now. Yeah, I mean, it's a tough job, and I think also a lot of people misunderstand Google's entire approach to these. You know, they are by and large algorithmic. They would much rather find an algorithmic solution to something than worry about doing a short-term manual fix. People don't realize how small the web spam team is at Google.
Oh, dude, tiny.
Yeah, it's like 2 people.
Well, they don't give him a lot of money either. Like that was another.
It was 8 originally when Matt was there.
Yeah, like, you know, that was another one that used to come up, I guess, you know, around 2012 or whatever. It was that when he would sit at the search, you know, as much as we all thought he was this big dude, Matt Cutts, when he'd sit at the search quality table, I think it was who was it back then? Bill, Indian guy. Goddamn.
Oh, Amit or
Amit Singhal. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, when he would sit there and, you know, essentially what they call asking for cycles, meaning how much processing power can each team have, like Maps, and what's her name was running Maps back at the time, and she went off to Yahoo. But yeah, he also, you know, we'd talk privately, and he would get frustrated that, you know, literally the spam team was kind of lower down the totem pole. Nobody really cared that much. It's like, you know, I mean, as long as our revenues are increasing, you know what I mean? Like the Maps team was big back then, and so they were getting more cycles than his spam team was. So he wants in his heart to do his job well and crush spam and stuff. Meanwhile, they're not getting the cycles and things to be able to do it, you know. So
yeah,
he had a lot of frustrations. I remember talking, you know, we went through
we're right back to corporate politics again. You know, which, you know, it does with any large company, whether that's the company you're working for or whether it's the search engine. Politics comes in. And I would say that politics has come in heavily at the moment because the last Google update definitely seemed to look at authority signals heavily And it struck me straight away that they were preparing in advance for whatever Trump's administration is going to throw as an accusation at them about fake news. That, well, no, we've already improved that. Here's what we've done in the last 12 months alone to improve the quality of and reputation.
Yeah, but that's just Trump's way of doing everything, is try and put scare tactics into people to get a little bit of change. Yes. You know what I mean? Like, that's just, you know, as Terry probably knows, because Jim Hedger won't shut up. Is, you know, they've been doing that with the free trade stuff as well, right? Just go out and threaten everybody to get a little movement, and that's just how he does business. But I'm not going there. I do not do politics.
No.
On that train of thought, though, what does everybody think about the fact that Google chose they sent their corporate counsel rather than sit in on the invitation from Congress with Facebook and Twitter to talk about that and what they are doing, what they can do, what they can't do. They just decided that they didn't really care. They sent their lawyer, but they couldn't be bothered.
Well, I would read two things. One, that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Say again, Bill?
Brendan Page had skateboarding to do.
Yeah.
I think
important stuff.
Well, you know, my take on it. I'm sorry.
They're passionate as well. Don't go into a place against a political administration that has built its entire methodology around goading people. And when you're passionate about search and these people are going to be ripping it, it may be best to send a lawyer who doesn't have anything to do with building the engine, who can give very dispassionate result and not care about what's being accused other than, can I disprove this?
Doc, I'm sure it's pretty simple. The whoever counsel just said here, pass this letter off to POTUS. And in that letter, it said, listen, we can always just expose your entire search history before you got in office. Problem solved. Done. Over.
Well,
all right, now we're done.
You know, the whole topic supposedly of this invitation was to discuss the potential for what meddling may have been done by the Russians in the election. And Facebook and Twitter, I understand them wanting to talk to them. I don't understand why they feel Google had any even peripheral attachment to that activity.
Part of the CIA.
Oh, right.
When has government ever understood any of the web? It seems to be that they won't accept you into politics if you have a clue how the world works. Or maybe it's just that if you know how the world works, you've got no interest in going into politics.
There you go. I'd like to think that it's the latter.
I do remember when Trump used to talk about talking to Bill Gates to fix the internet, as if Bill Gates has anything to do with it.
Oh, he owns it. Yeah.
Yeah, but Al Gore invented it, so.
We are at time for the week, so let's very quickly wrap up with doing the week ahead. Bill, what are you up to this week?
I'm choosing a fantasy football team, which should take up some time and maybe be fun.
Yeah, excellent. Let us know how that goes.
Dude, by the way, is there any positions open at Go Fish Digital? I like the way this job sounds.
Tough duty.
Dave, what are you up to this week?
Applying at Go Fish Digital.
Yeah, applying for a job at Go. Yep, that's pretty much it.
You've got a hangout coming up as well, haven't you?
Well, we got our Friday hangout, which is news, and then next week we're actually going to have some fun and deal with the whole never-ending debate on SEO testing and its validity. So we've got Dr. Pete from the Moz, we got Eric Enga, we got Bill, me, and Terry, and we're just going to, I'm pretty sure, jump on a few sides of that fence and beat up on each other, and so I'm looking for that.
Yeah, I might drop in on that.
I think it's like a
something I've done for years.
It's a WWE kind of wrestling kind of tag team match. This is going to be interesting because I'm pretty sure that Eric Enga and Mr. Dr. Pete are going to be on one side. Me and Bill are going to be on the other, so it should be a good wrestling match. So that's next. That's next.
I might come along to see if I can put the wind up Dr. Pete. And,
you could definitely come along for that ride if you'd like, for sure.
Doc, how about you? What are you up to this week?
Oh, this week a friend is helping me, and we are doing a massive rework. I've got all 11 of my sites right now are on maintenance mode because somebody managed to get in, backdoor one of them that got onto the server and have injected themselves in literally hundreds of files. So we're doing a massive cleanup there. It's been done once. It got reinfected. It was actually, we don't know if it got reinfected or if we just didn't find it all because we haven't been able to nail down the entry point.
And we have our goddess of WordPress with us to help on this.
And Terry whining about having a site on maintenance mode. Bite me, man. A site, really? So I have a suspicion we're also going to be looking at a host change too, because as much as I love SiteGround and have been singing their praises, they have scanned me 3 times and come back and said you're clean as a whistle, and then bam. So Sakuri, you can bite me too.
Yeah.
So Ammon, I really am getting thrown out for the monkey now because Taja's been helping Doc and Terry, and apparently I'm just not. Nobody talks to me anymore.
I did. I talked to you, Dave. I said, "Hey, do me a favor. Have Tanya ping me, would you?"
Really, the monkey is taking over now. So. I've lost all relevance.
They get you to talk while they do the actual work. So when we work done, we go to them, mate.
Well, I answer questions on Facebook. Am I cool now?
You duck them on local.
Oh yeah, stunning with my knowledge there. I'm just wowing them.
Yep.
Doc, when you've got it pretty much cleaned up, have Julia Logan take a look over it. Irish Wonder as well. Very reliable on looking for injects and weaknesses. Get her to give you a quick audit. Terry, what are you up to this week?
Oh, I only have one to clean up, so
yeah. You're feeling rubbing that in, Doc. Do you feel it?
Yeah, I feel the love, man.
Rubs the lotion on the skin.
Tim, what are you up to this week?
Let's see. Anything different? No, just making people money. That's my job. I guess if I was smart, I'd probably be applying for a job at GoFish Digital. No, that's
Hey! Stop riding the coattails. I'm in first, buddy.
Okay, all right. My life is pretty unexciting. I just keep working, make money for people. Always looking for more. That's it.
Yeah. Well, folks, that's us for this week. We will catch you again next week. We overran, but come on, if you aren't used to us doing that by now, what the hell have you been doing other than watching the show? We'll probably see you on Friday on Dave's show, except maybe me, because I'll probably be out getting beer instead.
We can never dispute that.
Take care, everyone. Thanks a lot.